Hi, everybody. My name is Katie. I'll be interviewing the lovely Rae Lashea today about her novel, Hot Tea and Mercy. I just pinned a comment to the top of our chat that links Rae's Instagram handle and also the link where you can go buy her book. It's so stunning. She should be on any second now. But basically, we're just going to be going through the novel, talking about different themes throughout the novel, and all that good stuff. Hi, Rae.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
Doing great. How are you tonight?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I was just telling everybody we're going to be talking about your beautiful book. I have it here. It's so lovely. And we're just going to be diving into some different themes tonight in it and having a good time.
Yeah.
So, I guess to kick things off, if you want to just say a little bit about yourself, your writing journey, and really what called you to bring Hot Tea and Mercy into this world.
So I'm Rae Lashea. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and but I consider myself a world citizen. I've traveled to over 30 countries and counting, and I've always been a writer ever since elementary school. It's just something that I was good at, liked to do, and I credit my public school teachers for really encouraging it and seeing that skill in me and encouraging me to do it. So, Hot Tea and Mercy is a compilation of different people that I've met along the way in my travels and some of their stories um, twisted and turned into this novel.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I guess going off of that, let's maybe dive into the process of pulling all these different stories together. There are totally a bunch of different character dynamics woven throughout the book. So, yeah, what inspired each of those stories, and what did it look like to really weave them all together if they were so separated?
Yeah, so there's three main families within the book. And then, of course, with any family, there's other people around
Yeah.
who, might not be part of the family, but they're definitely part of the family.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and what I found in my travels, and I find when I meet and talk to people, is that across the board, no matter if it's gender or race, religion, we have so many similarities and commonalities that we go through as humans. And so while the differences are readily apparent, the similarities aren't always so blatant, but they're there.
Mhm.
And so within each of these three families, and the issues and the problems, the joys, the ups, the downs that they were going through, I found that they were quite similar. And I wanted to tie that into the book and intertwine their stories so that we could see whether they're Indian or African American or Latino, they were they were the same in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Like finding commonality in different communities and showing that through the book. That's wonderful. Um, so before we really dive into the logistics, I wanted to ask if you could give a description of Hot Tea and Mercy in 5 words or less, just for people who haven't read yet.
5 words, I can't do anything in 5 words or less, Katie. I would say it is a well-crafted novel that you'll see yourself in.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Painting a picture that people can see themselves a part of. That's really beautiful. Um, Also on the same path of that, I mean, I was saying to you before, Hot Tea and Mercy is just such a striking title. I'm obsessed with it. Our whole team is obsessed with it too, actually. We've talked about how like striking and it just calls your attention. How did that come about to be A, just like in your mind, how did that come about? And B, how did that present itself as what you wanted this book to embody, Hot Tea and Mercy?
I must give credit to my sister who has passed away. Um,
Oh, my condolences.
Thank you. But when she was sick, she often said that phrase, hot tea and
Oh,
mercy,
really?
really all she wanted at that point. And so, and this is sort of a dedication and memorial to her in a way, because although it's not her story, I do take a lot of what I saw when she was going through her pains and her tribulations, and add that to, some of the characters in here.
Yeah, wow, that's really beautiful. I'm very touched by that. Hot Tea and Mercy. So striking name, but also something super personal. That's lovely. Um, yeah. So to dive into the book, we have all these different chapters that explore these different families, like we were saying, and just to show some people in the audience, we get a character's name beneath some of the chapters, which kind of provides this backstory on who they are, how they came to be where they are today, those kinds of things. And even I thought it was interesting that even some of the characters that may have become a little bit unlikable throughout the story or difficult, they even still got their backstory. So I just wanted to talk about the decision to provide that context even to some of the characters that aren't as likable in this story.
That's a great question. Even in life, there's two sides to a story, right? And
Mm,
oftentimes in books and in life, we only hear one side. A lot of times it's one sided. And I think it's important to give everybody a voice,
mm,
even those who are less likable. And in fact, sometimes hearing that backstory can help us figure out how they became the person that they are today,
yeah.
And again, I found that throughout my travels, just listening to people. Everyone is in a different situation, and a lot of it stems from childhood. And so,
Mm,
kind of understanding that backstory helps the reader for Hot Tea and Mercy and
yeah.
us in life just to know where someone is coming from. And then we can decide what we want to do with that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's so true. Like, get the context, get the full picture before making your decision.
Yeah.
Don't judge a book by its cover. Um, Going off of that, so yeah, touching on that aspect of childhood, a lot of that stemming from childhood. Um, One of the main themes I felt like throughout the book, that was touched upon in a few different storylines was mental health. So we get these characters that are experiencing depression, anxiety, PTSD. Um, and in my mind, I don't know why, I don't know if it was meant to be this way, but Dr. Merced is like the main character to me, who's kind of the connecting piece between all these characters. Um, and she works as a therapist. So I just wanted to talk more about the decision to touch on these various mental health issues and have Dr. Merced as that connecting character.
Yeah, there's a lot of themes that run through the book, but mental health is definitely one of the prominent ones. And I would consider Dr. Merced a main character as well.
Yeah.
And I'm a former special education teacher, and
Oh, so
so
great.
yeah, a lot of my training and my professional career um, was in mental health in a way. And so just seeing how the different disorders present themselves and really having to figure out how to work with them. But so many people have mental health issues, whether we know it or not, and whether we address it or not. And for some communities, it's still a stigma that's not talked
Mm,
about. And rest in peace to Twitch, who we see
I
committed
know. So tragic.
suicide recently due to depression and other mental health issues. And so it's something that I think is important to address because, like I said, we're all, um, whether we know it or not, dealing with the everyday struggles of life.
Yeah.
And if it gets too overwhelming, um, you know, it could result in the not so good. And we need to start talking about it so we can figure out how to overcome some of those obstacles.
Completely. And I think it's so lovely that you create that space in your book to dive into these different issues that, even though I feel like in today's world, we are having more conversations about mental health and there's more resources out there, but you're 100% right. There's still those stigmas. But I love that this novel explored those different issues and brought them to light.
Yeah. And I felt like it was done without being heavy. It was done in a very
Yeah.
realistic way that we could relate to.
Yeah, I mean, it's ingrained in life, right? Like you said, we deal with everyday struggles and things. So that's, yeah, that's wonderful. Um, Another theme to touch on in your book was family dynamics. We get, I mean, the whole story is based on all these different families, but it's so complex. So we get these love and care in certain aspects. We also get the neglect and tension. So why was it important for you when creating this novel to paint such a complex picture of familial structures?
Again, I think, and when people read the book, they will find and see themselves in some of these characters because that is life. It's simple and it's complex. You know, some relationships just flow and others are really tense. And so, and family is hard, especially, I think this is a great book around the holidays. We're around more family than usual, for
Yeah.
better or worse. And, you know, sometimes the same person can be super supportive or completely dismissive.
Mm.
And we never may not know what we're going to get with our mom or our daughter or our son or our dad or our uncle, you know, or our sister or our brother. So, you know, I come from a family of 10 children.
Wow, no way. You
Yeah.
have nine
I
siblings?
have 9 siblings and it's 3 sets of us. And
Oh,
so
really?
that creates a whole dynamic within itself, just of brother sister rivalries
Yeah.
and also, you know, sides, people taking sides, and you know, so I have a little bit of experience with that. But yeah, I just like to make these stories come from real experiences that I've had or have talked about with people, and so I feel like they're reflective of real life.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Also, I wanted to ask, I guess, so I myself write very autobiographically, but what's it like to have inspiration, like real life inspiration, but translate that into fiction? I struggle with that so much, so I just want to hear your take on the process for you when doing that.
A wonderful thing for me when I write is that once I'm in the groove, something takes over me,
Mm.
and I can just start to write like spirit is flowing, you know,
Yeah.
or even at other times when I'm driving or in the shower, an idea will come to me that is out of the realm of reality. It's not what really happened, but it's a great addition to what's going on. You know, maybe Dr. Merced had a different problem, but while I'm doing something else, or you know, going for a jog, which I don't do often, um, but maybe you know, something says, "Hey, don't give her this other problem." So,
Mm.
and how that will play out turns out to be something more dynamic for the book. And so, I love having a foundation of realistic stories to work with or to start with, and then allowing it to unfold with my imagination.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I just recently watched a video from a writer named George Saunders where he talks about how his writers were like vessels for the world to just like have stories come and go. Um, but that's really cool that you're able to translate them and use your imagination to expand upon them. Um, Another question I wanted to dive into was, so we start out the novel with the character Chandel or Shandy, who's battling this crippling colorectal cancer. Um, but we see her very resistant to modern medicine in a way, having like kind of an aversion to chemotherapy and wanting to steer more towards a homeopathic way to cure herself and heal herself. And I just wanted to talk about the decision to do that, or why, what that meant for Shandy and what that could potentially mean in our world.
Everyone has their own journey.
Yeah.
And, you know, I find, and there was a time when well, I'm more holistic than not.
Mm.
And I would prefer herbs and Eastern medicine and natural remedies over Western medicine when possible.
Yeah.
And what I found was not just me, but other people who lean towards holistic medicine get ridiculed, you know?
Mm.
And it's not to say whether it's right or wrong, because in Chandel's case, right, it may or may not have worked. And that happens in real life as well.
Yeah.
But it's to support people on their journey and to respect their decisions. Um, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone decide to go vegetarian, and all of a sudden everyone wants to take them out for a steak dinner. You know, you know, or when
Yeah.
someone decides to stop drinking or stop smoking for whatever reason, people want to take them to the bar, give them a cigar, like, you know, and it's that peer pressure that says, I don't respect your decision, I don't respect the journey that you're on. And I think that we have to make it more what do they say, normalize
Yeah.
normalize letting people be and live their life the way they choose, you know. And I'm a big proponent of making a decision, not making the right decision, making a decision and then making it right. And so for Chandel, that's what she had to do to reconcile her beliefs with her disease, and her family had to reconcile their beliefs with what with her decision.
Yeah. Oh, that's really insightful. Making a decision and making it right. That makes me feel so much better about approaching decisions in life. I feel like to just having the ability to choose, and decide what you think is best for yourself. That's great. Um, Out of all of these characters, which character do you feel you most relate to and why?
I almost feel like I relate to all of them in some ways. You know, I see myself in a lot of them. Um, I, there's a good part of me. There's a or a likable part of me. There's an unlikable part of me. You know, there's the struggling part of me, and then there's the things that I do well. And I think each of those characters have that dichotomy.
Yeah,
You know, so
totally.
I feel like I could relate to each and every one in some way.
Yeah, that's great. It also touches on how, when we were talking in the beginning about the good and bad of these characters and things, that you have painted this story where we can find the similarities and differences in a way, which is awesome. That really holds through to your answer too, on how you can feel a bit of yourself in all of them. That's great. Um, if your audience could take only one piece of advice or life lesson away from this novel, what would you want it to be?
Accountability.
Accountability. Oh, I'm intrigued.
The more accountable we hold ourselves for our actions, I
Mm.
think the more control we can have over our own lives and our own journeys and our own successes.
Yeah.
And, you know, placing blame on things outside of ourselves, while it might feel good in the moment, doesn't get us too far. And you know, and I believe in karma too, and like some of these characters kind of faced karma based on their actions, but and that's, I think, mostly because they didn't take responsibility for the things that they decided to do. So I would
Mm.
say accountability. The greater we the greater importance we place on accountability in our own lives, the further we can go.
That's awesome. Wow, I wasn't expecting that answer. I think that's great. And now I'm gonna have to like go back through my novel and look at and look at it in that lens too. I need to like reinspect these characters. Um, and last question, especially again just for the audience members who may not have read the book yet, but give me your elevator pitch for Hot Tea and Mercy. So in other words, why should someone read this book?
Oh gosh, to be
I
quite
know, there's so many reasons.
honest. Hot Tea and Mercy is a well-written novel that takes the lives of three women and the people who surround them and shows how they intertwine under Dr. Marianella Merced in all of the ups, downs, twists and turns of life. And it's a great read. It's an easy read, and you will see yourself in one of the characters for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think my favorite character was probably Priscilla. I related to her a lot as a mom. I'm not a mom, but just like I just thought she was a very sweet, motherly character in a lot of ways. But wonderful. I'm going to scroll through our chat here and see if anyone has any questions or things they want to talk about with Rae. I did want to ask you, Rae, I know you've written some other books too. Where do those fit in with Hot Tea and Mercy, or how did you progress from those two to this novel?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. My first book was written 20 years ago called Black Geisha. It's an erotica novel. And while I was very proud of that book at the time, I am even more proud of Hot Tea and Mercy because I do see the progression in my writing. Black Geisha was written chronologically, straight through, and
Yeah,
partially autobiographical, whereas Hot Tea and Mercy is outside of me, and I was also able to go back and forth and mix and match the way that the chapters go. So there definitely has been progression in my writing and my maturity and just the way I've seen life. And I think that comes with the experience and the travel that has happened over those 20 years.
yeah, definitely. That's really cool too, because I feel like interweaving different timelines and even like different characters, like giving the perspective, the firsthand perspective of different characters is super difficult to pull off. So that's really cool that you were able, in your first book, you went chronologically, but then switching it up to tap into different ways of telling people's stories. That's really great. Still scrolling through the comments here, just seeing if anyone has any questions. I'll scroll back down to the end too, in case someone has said anything since I've scrolled all the way up.
And I'll mention my other two books while you're looking.
Of
There's
course.
You Are a Star, which is a children's book. It's a poem story. It's
Oh,
beautifully
cool.
illustrated. And then there's 52 Weeks of Miracles, which takes the word miracles, creates 52 acronyms, never using the same word twice to create reflective, meditative phrases for the year. So each of my books are very different. They're all in their own genre, and I just think again that speaks to my belief that people are dynamic and changing, and
Yeah,
we don't have to box ourselves into any one profession or title or category. We can be anything at any time.
I love that. That's so inspiring. Yeah. Not needing to put yourself in a box, just keep growing and blooming into who you are. I have one question here. Who is your favorite character? So maybe not one that you most relate to, but who is your favorite one in the story?
Oh, I don't want to taint anybody's own feelings. I didn't. I honestly don't have a favorite character. Um, Maybe Millie, if I had to choose one.
Oh,
She's
sweet.
not a main character, but I like her journey where she is. She's still young. She's developing into the becoming the woman she will become, and she's learning life
Yeah,
as it comes.
totally. Another question here. What is your favorite genre of writing?
My favorite genre, I would say, well, I think, because again, I'm always changing, it is films. I have recently gotten into script writing,
Oh,
and so that is now my what my passion is. And within that, it's romantic comedy.
I
Um,
love.
yeah. So and even in my books, I like to have some comedy because I like to laugh. There's always a little sadness because that's life, and there's
Yeah,
always drama.
yeah, I gotta love the drama.
Right? So I would say drama for writing and books, and romantic comedy for scripts.
Nice. And I guess that kind of bleeds into someone said that's awesome, constantly evolving. Um, someone else asked, and I think we'll make that our final question for the interview and kind of bleeds into that answer with the script writing. But what's next for you on your journey as a writer?
Um, that's a great question. And again, I might give an answer today that changes tomorrow. But no, I do have a children's book fairy tale that is complete, but I need it illustrated and I needed, to really work on that, called Rhea's Heart. So I'd like to see that to fruition, as well as turn my children's book, You Are a Star, into like an animated series
Oh,
for children. So there's a lot of work to do on that. But in the immediate sense, I am working with a female-run producer and directing company, entertainment company, to produce my first feature film, which is We're Not Married, and we're
oh
going
my
to be
gosh.
shooting in April 2023. So that is very exciting, and those are the top, priority items on my to-do list.
Oh, amazing. Congratulations. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
Well, it's been wonderful chatting with you, Rae, and getting to know you better.
You too,
Um,
Katie.
I
Thank you.
loved reading your book. Yes. And thank you just so much for your time today. Um, and look forward to chatting with you more in the future.
Thank you. And I want to just thank Thought Catalog as a book boutique who has published the book, and all of the, Shop Catalog, the collective, Career Collective, for supporting me and having me on today.
Of course, we're so grateful to have your words amongst our titles. So thank you so much, Rae. Hope you have a good night.
Thank
Um, and I hope everyone else has a great night too. And thank you for joining, everybody.
Thank you for joining.
Have a good one.
Too. Bye.